We will get started at like 2:05 to give people a chance to get in here so they're not like interrupting you while you're speaking.
Okay, cool. What's the crowd normally? The amount of people?
So I think there's, I want to say 36 people who've signed up to come. But there may be people who just drop in at the last minute who know that's happening. So normally it's around maybe 20, 25 people. The last couple of weeks we've done it.
Gotcha, gotcha.
All right, we will be getting started in about 5 minutes, folks. So please make sure you're muted. All right. Good afternoon, everyone. I am excited. We have another day of Bring a Hacker to Work Day. So this is our Day in the Life series where we talk to cybersecurity professionals who are in the industry to get an idea of, their jobs, in this case, cybersecurity engineering, what they did to get there, and how we can get there too. So our speaker for today, her name is Clara. She is a self-taught cybersecurity engineer who works for the government. And she also has an ebook coming out later to help others with limited resources on how to get into cybersecurity engineering as well. So I hope that you guys all welcome her, and she's going to, tell us a bit about herself and how she got to where she's at. If there are any questions, please feel free to drop them in the chat, and I will make sure that she gets to them. So Clara, you're up.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much for having me. How you doing?
Doing well. How are you?
Oh, wonderful.
I'm happy that you're here. We have not heard anything about cybersecurity engineering. I'm absolutely loving the fact that you are self-taught,
Oh,
because that
cool.
just means that you grinded to get here. So I'm excited to hear your story.
Yes. So where do I start? Do you want me to start? What do I do?
Yeah, you can start with what you do and then how you got there. Like, what did you like major in? If you majored in anything, if you have any certifications, like how did you get to where you're at today?
Okay, cool. So, hi everyone. Thank you so much again for having me. Um, I'm Clara Burgos. I have been a cybersecurity engineer here in the DMV area for about 4 years now, and my journey started about 5 years ago. I was in a position in life where I needed some stability. My mother's actually in IT for the government as well. So she's been telling me for years, hey, Clara, you should be into tech. You're a problem solver. You should be into tech. And I just never took her advice for years. And it wasn't until 5 years ago where I was like, well, let me try to give it a chance. And I decided I wanted to learn how to code. So I went on Code Academy and I wanted to see what languages I could learn. I played around with SQL, Java, Ruby, and I landed on Python. From Code Academy, I graduated up to edx.org, which I swear by that site. It's completely changed my life. I took a few classes on EDX regarding Python and Python and data science, and then I learned Java. And after a year of teaching myself how to code, I just started spamming my resume in the DMV area and just to see who would bite. And I got a few interviews, and the company that I work for now, Blue Cloak, they gave me an opportunity, but they told me that they can only hire me as an office manager since I had no experience, and then part time at that. So I ended up taking that opportunity, and I would clock out after my 4 hours that day, and I would just try to learn from the guys in my off time. So so yeah, that's pretty much how I got in. Uh, I taught myself how to code, got my foot through the door as an office manager, and I became technical, and in just a few months, and so here I am now.
Okay. So are you still working as an office manager, or are you're now a cybersecurity engineer, or how did you make that transition?
Yeah, so now I'm a cybersecurity engineer. So just to kind of explain a little bit of what we do, it's hard to explain, but I'm gonna give it like a scenario. So we have a customer that says, "Hey, Blue Cloak, we need you to test this piece of this equipment." And so they'll give us this equipment. I'm just going to call it a red box. They'll give us this red box, and they say, this red box with LEDs. Um, Here's a list of requirements. This one requirement says this box is supposed to blink red or blink blue whenever there's a Bluetooth device in the area that connects, or it's supposed to blink green whenever there's a Wi-Fi device that connects. So we take this red box, we take those requirements, and then we develop scenarios, realistic operational scenarios, um, to where we can test this red box how we would normally deploy it into the real world. So once we come up with our scenarios and we build up the network and connect all the APs, the routers, everything else, then we go out into maybe a range or a base, and we test it. And at the end of all that, we let the customer know it passes or it failed. So it's kind of a fun play on like war games in a sense. So I'm involved in that entire process. I've managed those projects. I've also I've done some pen testing. Um, I am also working to help configure those devices. I'm testing to make sure everything works, and then also I've been involved in the report process. So I've been involved in every process for that. That's called test and evaluation, and it's really popular out here in the DC area.
You said it's called what evaluation?
Testing and evaluation, T&E.
Oh,
It's so much fun. It's hard to call it work.
all right. So have you had to along the way get any, like, for example, certifications, or did you go to school for anything, or did you just like, hop out of high school and you're just like, hey, I'm about to make this happen? How did that progress for you?
Yeah, so when I hopped out of high school, my mother told me, Clara, you should be in tech. You're a problem solver, which I really didn't know what that meant until I got into the industry. Um, but of course, being young at that age and knowing everything there is to know about life, I did not take her advice, and I did everything except for tech until I was like I said, about 5 years ago, when I said I want to take this seriously. Um, I could not get into college because I couldn't get a Pell Grant, and I had to take out loans. So I just couldn't afford to go to college. And I had to also work full time. I just had to take care of myself and feed myself. So I was in a position where I had no choice but to teach myself if I wanted to be successful. And so that's where I made the decision. I'm just going to teach myself how to code. I don't have any certifications right now, but I am a testament that you can get into the industry without certifications. And that's actually what I'm writing my book about. I call it The Broke Self-Taught Learner's Guide to Cybersecurity. And the reason why I'm writing that is because there's so many great ebooks that I'm seeing where people are suggesting take this course, take this certification. But for a lot of us, that is just not a reality. Some of these classes, some of these certs are thousands of dollars. And the classes they take a lot of time to go through, and some people have kids and they work full time. So I want to write a guide for people who are in a weird position but still want to be successful. These are just all the tools that I used and that got me where I am. So I just want to pay it forward and help other people. So I don't have any certs right now, but I am working on my Security Plus, and I should be getting that next month.
That is absolutely dope. I could tell you that we have a lot of people in the squad who, have kind of like the same, kind of backstory. I could tell you that me personally, my father, I was talking to my sister about this yesterday. My father told me when I was kind of going into high school that I needed to go into programming. So when I went to school, I said, I'm going to do anything but programming, right? So I've spent like my entire career, not programming. I did computer engineering, but I was like, I'm not programming. So last week I had to, call my dad and be like, yeah, I just moved into a position for secure ops development, like, which is programming. So yeah, you were right, but I'm not happy about it. So I could definitely feel that. So would you say that you are still at this point, are you still on Code Academy? Are you still on EDX, or now that you've got here, you're kind of like chilled out? What are you doing to, I guess, progress and continue your evolution?
Right. So Code Academy, I think, is a great beginners website for a lot of people who are trying to figure out what language they want to learn. From Code Academy, I graduated to EDX, and that was more intermediate to advanced. And whenever I want to learn something, I go back to EDX because they're just, like I said, I swear by that website. Um, so I go back to EDX, but I also use Udemy and Coursera if I want to learn something. Um, but right now, I'm just taking some free practice tests online for Security Plus, and I actually ordered a book as well. So that's how I'm choosing to study for Security Plus. I feel like I am in a position where I'm comfortable and I know a lot of the Security Plus things. So I just really need to take my tests, and that's really the big thing. I do want to encourage people though to if you don't have money for all these certifications, get in a company that is actually going to help you pay for them, because a lot of times they'll sponsor like a clearance, or they'll help you pay for ethical hacking, or some programming classes. So for me, that's the path that worked.
Yeah, so for my organization, Black Girls Hack, we actually offer, if your job doesn't pay for it, I highly recommend that your job pay for it. But if they don't, we actually offer a discount. So we've got them for, I think, like $130 off
Well,
the
good.
vouchers. So I think they're typically run like 370. So we've got them for like two something, 240, I think it is. So we have a question from the squad. What are the AppSec tools and other security tools that are in your arsenal that are necessary to do your work?
So I can't talk about some of the tools, but a lot of times, when it comes to test and evaluation, and another sector of it is independent verification and validation, IVMV. If anybody wants to look into those type of careers, um, a lot of times we have to use open source tools to make sure that certain things work. So I definitely have, Kismet in my back pocket. I love Wireshark. Um, Actually, Kismet, they just came out, I think, with like a new GUI recently. So it's just super helpful. I love that. Um, what I've been using to learn more about hacking is Hack the Box. So I don't know if anybody's heard of that, but I think in order to even get on some of these machines, you have to hack the website just to get to use the website. So I have been using some of that too, so I can get better with pen testing. Um, but yes, open source is the way to go for me.
That's dope. All right, so our next question is, how often do you have to refer back to the fundamentals when you code?
So many
Are you
times.
still Googling? Or are you at the point now where you're like, I got this?
No, I'm a professional Googler. Everything I do, I have to Google it, and it helps because it's a lot of different perspectives. You can Google one question and get 30 different answers, and out of those 30 answers, find your own way of doing it. So I think Googling, I stand behind my Googling. So no, I'm not at a point where I can just type and develop.
So do you have some means of keeping track of like the stuff that you've Googled, or do you just like Google it and do you have like a cheat sheet for yourself that you're like, this is what I refer back to, or do you just go back to Google when you need to find it again?
Sometimes I do. When I know I'm going to be doing a project again. So, for example, recently I was just using PowerShell to just mess around with some servers, and I Googled the heck out of all those scripts, and I created my own cheat sheet. So that way I just refer back to it. But if it's something quick, then I don't even bother with a cheat sheet. But yes, I do stand behind cheat sheets as well.
Okay. So what's up next for you? Like, what is your end goal? We always talk about within Black Girls Hack, your world domination plan. Where is it that you are trying to work to at this point?
I like that world domination plan. So right now, I really want to, since I'm in a position where I'm comfortable at work, and my ethic pretty much speaks for itself. They trust me. So now they're going to help me get some certifications under my belt. So I want to start with Security Plus. After that, I'm going to go on to CISSP. I would really like to start managing some of these cyber events that I was speaking about earlier. Um, they're just so much fun. So I really want to get deep into that and manage those projects. So that's the future for me.
Okay, that's dope. All right, so how do you prepare for job interviews? And a follow up to that is, have you had to do I guess, a technical interview for, I guess, coding or programming or whatever? And what does that look like?
So when I applied, so back up, whenever I told myself I was going to take 1 full year to learn how to code, and then after that I was going to start applying for jobs, which is a little bit aggressive, but I had a plan and I wanted to stick to it. So after I learned how to code and I felt like I was ready to send my resume out, I took my resume and I deleted everything that was on it. And the only thing I had on my resume was um, the things that I wanted to show for the current position that I was looking for. So I put my projects that I had worked on, I put the courses that I had attended, and just to let the person know that I'm pretty much starting fresh into this industry. Um, and then what I did was I applied for a lot of jobs that I just wasn't qualified for. I knew I had no business applying for a reverse engineer position when I had a year of programming under my belt. But like I said, I wanted to be aggressive and I wanted them to see that I was aggressive. And it actually got me a lot of interviews. What's actually really interesting is the interviews that I had. For example, I applied for a reverse engineer position, but I got an office manager position. When I went in, I was prepared to answer any question regarding reverse engineering. I studied so much for that. But what actually ended up happening, they asked me questions like, what do I do in my free time? And, what got me into coding, things that um, a lot of really good companies will ask you things that are more like character based because they want to know that you're a good person before, because most people are teachable, so they want to just know that you're a decent human being before they get you through the door. I've never had a technical interview. I've had most of my interviews have been, you know what do you do for fun type interviews, and yeah, I think that's just as important as some of the technical interviews.
Right. So our next question is, everyone talks about the reporting part is more difficult. What is your view on this, and how does one develop that skill?
For writing reports.
Yeah.
So when I wrote my first report for that project that I had managed, it was not easy, and um, I'd even had a template. They My job had created a template, but even that I couldn't follow. So I'm a big fan of like paving my own way and doing things my way. I'm still going to follow the rules, but I'm going to do it my way. And there's a whole reason for that. I really think that, especially as Black people, we need to like show our perspective into this industry, and so that's like one of the reasons why I do that. And so what I did was I took that template that they had, and I got rid of it, and I just started from each section, and it took me a really long time, but my mother taught me to write how I speak and then go back and then try to edit it. And that's the technique that I used. It took a really long time to write, but I'm more confident for the next one.
Yeah, I've also actually started. I did a technical assessment for penetration job last week, and like I got my whole confidence rocked. I was like, I'm quitting hacking. I'm about to go join a monastery. And someone told me, actually, they're like, a monastery is where the men go, and I was like, well, what's the female version? I guess I'm going to a nunnery or something. Like, I don't even know, right? So then I decided then that I'm just going to do like a box a day, and like I'm going to write up a report for it, just to get it in the habit of, one, writing up my findings, and writing up the approach that I took for the boxes, but then also just to get in the habit of just cracking boxes every day. Like I feel like I've been way too lax about me progressing my penetration testing, ethical hacking skills. So I know for me, like I'm about to just be writing all the reports. Like my husband's gonna like ask for dinner, and I'm gonna write him a 5-page report about why that's just not happening, and he needs to order DoorDash. Like, so I can feel it. All right, so we have another question. What is a common secure code implementation practice that developers often do not practice?
A common secure code. Um, so first of all, I'm not a developer. And I have not developed anything for my job per se. I've used programming whenever I need to solve a problem, if that makes any sense. If I have this long project and I need to extract something from it, I'll code something up real quick and do what I have to do. Um, but I know one of the issues that some of our guys run into is when it comes to certifications, the certs. Um, I know a lot of people don't manage certs very well, and I know that's one way that a lot of hackers can use vulnerabilities. So without going too deep into that, I don't want to act like I know something that is not what I normally do. But I know with certifications, that is one thing that trips a lot of people up.
And you're not talking about like Security Plus certifications. You're talking about like CA, like
Yep.
Registration Authority type certifications.
Yep. This page is not where you want to go. Yeah.
All right. So Claire, you've mentioned your mother several times. Can you discuss the role of family and support network in becoming successful?
Man, I'm so family oriented. I feel like there's no way that I can be anywhere where I am today without my family. And that's not just my mom, that's my brother, my sister. They're like my entire support system. When people say it takes a village, that's not just for kids. You know, it really is for anybody wanting to be successful. So my mother has just been super supportive of me. She was a single parent, so I saw her work really hard just to, put food on the table. And at a young age, I was her support system as much as I needed to be. And so whenever we all need each other, if something goes wrong in life, she's right there she's the number one person and my biggest fan. So I want to just be the same way with my kids whenever I am blessed with them. But I do think that even if someone doesn't have family per se, a support system is really, really needed in anybody's success, even if it's a mentor.
So just talking about mentors. So do you have mentors? And if so, like how many mentors, like what's your general approach to that?
So I don't have any tech mentors, but I do, there are, I look up to some, successful celebrities. I also look up to some family members who have really grinded their way out of certain situations, and that I can see myself in them, and they help me, have, my Uncle Danny, my Aunt Kim, my Aunt Lala. So there's a lot of my family members who have mentored me just by me watching them be successful. And so that's the approach I take to mentorship. But I do feel like everybody needs a mentor, at least one. I think you're muted, Tanisha. I'm sorry.
I am muting. I'm steadily talking. So how would someone who wants to get into cybersecurity, what would you suggest? Having taken the route that you did, would you say, hey, take the same route? Or, if you had to do it over, would you do anything different?
If I did all this over, I think I would do it the exact same way because it really worked out for me. And everybody's path is different, and so that means everyone's journey is going to be a little bit different as well. I think the biggest thing for me is tenacity, and I think that's what really got me over the next hump. There were a lot of sleepless nights of not being able to figure something out, and when you're self-taught, you have no choice but to figure something out. So that's very stressful. So I wouldn't do anything different. I think all those stressful nights, all the days where I couldn't figure things out, all the days where I feel like I didn't have any help, I think all that is just part of the process. And the biggest thing is to just be tenacious and trust yourself. Take it a day at a time.
All right. So do you have a tribe? Like, do you have people that you hack with or that get out here and do things with that are in the, like, I guess, kind of like the technical space who help you to develop your skills?
Yeah, so pre-COVID, I was big on Meetup. I would go on Meetup a lot and just meet up with random people who were, even if we didn't work on the same projects, we would just work in the same vicinity. So if I'm working on a project and they're working on a completely separate project, I can just kind of yell out, "I can't believe I'm having this issue with this," and somebody in the room knows what you're talking about. So I like that sense of community, even if everyone's not working on the same thing. Aside from that, a lot of the guys at work, they like to build things and put certain payloads on drones and things like that. So I play around with some of that, some of those guys as well, because they're just super smart and I feel like I can pick up from them. I always want to be around people who I feel like are just so much smarter than me. And I feel like that's been helping me build my skills up.
We have a Cyber Women Wednesdays that we do every Wednesday on Clubhouse, where we talk about issues that are affecting women in cybersecurity specifically. You mentioned, some of your male coworkers. So would you find that they've been supportive to you, or the people that you've worked with in supporting of you and your goals, or do you feel like you have to work, that much harder because of the fact that you are a woman?
Yeah, that's a really good question. I definitely have to work harder because I'm the fact I'm a woman. On the same token, the guys that I work with are super supportive of me. They give me projects, they give me things that they know I don't know how to do because they want me to figure it out and they want me to learn. So I am crazy appreciative for them. Now, since we work with the government, it's not just the guys that I work with directly. I'm working on some of these bases a lot of times with some of the soldiers. So those people might not be as receptive to a young Black woman doing certain tasks. And I'll give you an example. Actually, I was on a base and I was driving up to a base, and before I could even pull my ID out, the guy who checks IDs just immediately saw me and said, "Hey, you're with catering, right?" And it probably shouldn't have offended me like it did, but I like to think that if a man was driving up, I feel like he probably wouldn't have said that. So there's definitely some people who will look down on me. I had another guy at one point say, I walked in the room with all my coworkers, and this man looked at me and goes, "Are these guys treating you with respect?" Like a child, looked me in my face and said it. So there's definitely some people who are just not who are not receptive to women, especially Black women working with them. But the guys that I work with directly definitely are, and um, I have to learn on the fly how to deal with those situations when I'm encountered with it. But it's all part of life, I think.
Yeah, it's a part of life that would probably had me like fighting someone.
Biting my
That is
tongue.
so disrespectful.
Yeah.
So have you I guess within COVID, have you still had to go into work, or are you able to do some of your work remotely at this point?
I've been fortunate to be able to work completely from home. Um, every once in a while, we do go into the office if we need to pick up equipment or drop something off. So if I'm in the office, it's for those reasons. But or we do have some stuff that we can't access over VPN, so we do have to go in the office to access those. But other than that, I've been fortunate to work from home. I haven't been missing a beat. It's been almost a year. I can't believe it. It's crazy.
Yeah, that's amazing. So as far as the people that you work with, do you find that there are other people who have like a similar background to you at your job, or do you find that they took a different approach?
Yeah, so everybody that I work with has a different approach. Actually, so I have three bosses, right? One of my and I early in my career, I went to my bosses and I said, I really want to be successful and I want to learn from you guys. What did you guys do to be successful? And so I have one boss who went to college, or he was in the military, then went to college, used his GI Bill. That's how he got there. I had another boss who like dropped out of high school, like dropped out of school. Everything is self-taught. Then I have another boss who is Vietnamese, and his parents told him, look, you're either going to be a doctor, or you're going to be an engineer. And so he picked the engineering route, and that's where so everybody has such different paths. So learning from them, I just knew that I'm going to be okay, even if my path is different. A lot of the guys I work with, they went to college, is mostly is the most is the consensus at work. But I am the only person that is self-taught. I am the only Black woman that works there. I was the first woman to work with them, and I just feel super empowered being in this position.
Yeah, that's absolutely amazing. Are you still the only woman, or are there at least some other women there at this point?
The office manager now is a woman, but no, there's no other female employees that work there except for me and her.
All right. So what are some things that you do to recharge when you're overwhelmed with work?
I do mindless things. Whenever I am stressed out with work, I do something that does not require thinking. So a lot of times that's like playing a stupid game on my phone, or even playing video games, or watching reality TV. Just something completely mindless that takes my brain off of the mental taxing of doing whatever I'm doing.
All right. So next up, are there any particular study tips that have helped you?
I think when I study, I like the note card method. That definitely works for me. There's an app called Cram where you can set up your note cards, and then you can play games in Cram. It does cost, I think, like $1 or maybe $2 for the app, but it is a great study tool.
Are you self putting the information in there, or is it already in there? So you have to like make up your cards, and then they test you on them and do creative things to make sure you know them.
Yep, that's exactly how it goes. Yep.
Okay, dope, dope. All right. So as far as what you're looking to do next, um, are you going to try to use your programming skills, or do you just use those to get to where you're at now? Like, how does that work? I know you said you're not a developer. Is your plan to try to use some of those in the future?
Yeah, so recently I was just learning SQL, and I had to learn it to complete a project. So I think programming is kind of like regular languages, where they say if you know one language, it's kind of easier to learn another language. So that's the extent where I want my programming to go. I don't think I ever want to be a developer, um, but it is definitely a skill that is necessary to have in your back pocket for whatever tech job you have.
And what would you say are the languages that within your role as a cybersecurity engineer are using on a regular basis? Like, which are the ones that you feel like, all right, these are definitely essential for me to be able to operate?
Right. So Python is definitely up there with as number one for me. Um, Even creating malware and things like that, we use a lot of Python. But SQL is also good with parsing through data, things like that. Then there's Java. I think for what we do, those are the top three.
All right, so Python, SQL, and Java. I'm taking notes in the chat so that they can refer
Okay,
back to it.
cool.
Have you heard anything about Go? Have you seen any use of Go?
I have, and I have a lot of friends who use it. I'm not familiar with it much to talk about it, but yeah, I've heard of it.
And what about Python libraries? Do you have any particular Python libraries that you suggest exploring, or that you may refer back to in your work?
Um, I've used so many that I don't even know what to. No, I don't. I mean, I don't have anything in particular. If I do things based on whatever task I have. So going back to Googling, if there's a way that I need to complete this task, I'll just Google it, and if that library comes up, I'll try it. Sometimes they don't work, and sometimes I end up trying a different library. So I don't have anything in particular to bring up, but
Okay. All right. So does Claire intend to stay a cybersecurity engineer for the long term, or is there another part of cybersecurity she is interested in learning or switching to in the future?
I definitely want to stay into cybersecurity. I want to get better with my pen testing skills. It's just helping me become a better. I like to think that sometimes I'm a systems engineer as well, so it helps me become a better systems engineer. So pen testing, I would probably want to learn more about that, but I definitely want to move into like the managerial side of cybersecurity in the future.
Once you get your CISSP, you're in there.
Yeah.
All right. So are there any others, I guess, certifications besides CISSP that you've considered, I guess, for the managerial aspect of your roles?
Um, Other than Security Plus and CISSP, I think that's going to get me where I want to go. We all know how unpredictable life is. So you never know once I get my Security Plus if something else, happens to fall in my lap. But those two certifications right now is where I want to start. Um, and if anything else comes up, I'm totally open to that. I'm young, so why not?
Hey, all right. So, do you participate in Capture the Flags, and do you plan on participating on the Hack the Box Capture the Flag in April to help enhance your skills?
Oh, I can. I wasn't familiar with that one, but sometimes I do. Yeah, I do participate in them. I like to participate with a partner though, because we're all so hard on ourselves. So I just don't feel like I'm that good of a pen tester. Um, but yeah, definitely, I definitely like participating in captured flags. I think that's the best way to advance your skills too, without doing it by yourself, is to do it with a ton of other people.
One of the squad said they want you to come do the Capture the Flag with them. So maybe you guys can link
Yes,
up after.
hit me up.
Yeah, I actually did a capture it was a hack the box capture the flag I want to say a couple weeks ago, and it was I think one of the hardest capture the flags that I've done ever. So like it was definitely an interesting experience. So I definitely want to try to work on some in the future because I think that that's where I need to get my skills to that point. All right. So do you interact with any cloud environments in your day-to-day work?
We don't use a whole lot of cloud environments. A lot of what we do has to stay off the internet. So we definitely don't use cloud for that. So no.
All right. So what types of jobs is your employer hiring for? Do you know of any other positions in your, I guess, in your company that are kind of like yours? Like, so someone's looking for a position?
We are actually hiring right now for one position that I know of, and it is working with this. It's a really high end position. Oh my God, what is it called? I cannot think of the name of it. I can definitely post it today, but it's working with the NRO, and you have to have like a poly, and I think you'll be working in a skiff. So it's definitely like a super serious job, and they're looking for that right now because the person that we have for that just put in their 2 weeks, so they're going to be moving out the state. So yeah, I can definitely post that after this for the squad.
Thank you, appreciate that. All right, so next up, what types of capture the flags have you, I guess, participated in the past? Do you play the cyber games or?
I have done, so the only ones that I've been involved with are ones that are associated with like conferences. So if I go to a certain conference and they have a CTF, I'll join those. Um, One really cool one that we do at work, we have a contract with NASA, and so we run this event called Capture the Spacecraft. And so what it is NASA hires cybersecurity interns. Let's say they have 4 interns, and they teach all 4 interns about red teaming, and then they teach all of them about blue teaming, and they teach them about logging and the white team side of it. um, and then they split the teams up and they say you two are going to be red team, you two are going to be blue team. And so where we come in is we build the whole network with vulnerable machines. We have fake internets and web servers and fake ADs and users and emails, and it's all fake and simulated. But we build the network so that the red team and the blue team can just kind of go back to back. The red team is trying to capture the spacecraft while the blue team is trying to protect the spacecraft. And so we get involved with that every year, and that's probably the most fun CTF that I've ever done.
Cool, cool. That is dope. So the next question is, how hard is it to be sponsored to work for the government and get a clearance?
I think the hardest part is just getting your foot in the door, because if you get in with the right company, and you have the skills that they're looking for, they'll have no problem sponsoring you. So I think the hardest part is just getting your foot in the door. And for me, getting my foot in the door was like an office manager position, just based on the experience that I did not have. So um, if it looks like I know a lot of people are like, I don't want to take this job because it doesn't pay as much, and sometimes those are the ones that you need to take to get that sponsorship.
So you would recommend people that, they would take a job, for example, that's, I guess, less than what it is that they're looking for just to get their foot in the door?
I think it's definitely case by case. For me, that worked. And, if someone feels like their skills and experience is just way too high for it, then, make that decision. But I'm definitely a fan of taking a position that is going to just get me through the door if I feel like it's going to be difficult for me to get in the door any other way. So, yeah, I definitely suggest that.
All right. So the next question is, do you have any people that you follow, like, for example, on social media, that you are kind of like, appreciate what they're doing in the cybersecurity space, or that think are a good source of information just for your own progression and what you're trying to do for world domination?
Yeah, so I follow so many pages. It's so many, women who secure. I follow the Blacks in Cyber Instagram. I follow. Um, I follow a lot of hashtags too because that gets me some of the pages that I'm not really following. But um, but yeah, I definitely follow a lot of.
What are
Um,
so what are some of the hashtags that you follow?
so I do women in tech. I do women in cyber. I do black in cyber. Black in cybersecurity. I just any variation of those, and it gives me a good feed, and it gives me a lot of accounts that I wouldn't necessarily follow any other way.
Okay, okay, cool. All right. So are there any podcasts or blogs or anything that you follow or listen to on a regular basis, just as far as cybersecurity news?
No, there's not, and I would actually love that. So I don't know if anybody knows of any, please send me some. But I definitely want to get involved in more podcasts and like YouTube series, things like that.
Yeah, I actually follow a couple of them. One of my friends, King Domo, she has a podcast called Security in Color, where she talks about issues that are affecting, specifically Black people in cybersecurity. And she also like kind of weaves in like music in there as well. And I check out, I think his name is DJ Axe, or DJ, maybe it's DJ Alpha Axe, something like that. I think his real name is Dalvin, but he has a podcast and website that he maintains, and I actually follow him as well. But those are a couple of the options that I check out.
Okay, cool. Thank you.
Cool. All right. So, squad, do you guys have any other questions for Claire while you have her, or about cybersecurity engineering? So you had mentioned test and evaluation. Like, would you say how much of that of your job would you say? Because I come from a testing background, and I'm just curious, like, how much of that would you say is involved in your, day-to-day roles as a cybersecurity engineer?
So the testing evaluation part of what we do is, I would say, about 90% of everything. Outside of that, we're doing some vulnerability assessments. We're doing wireless site surveys, things like that, that I've been involved in too. But testing evaluation is a big chunk of it.
Right. So, and what would you say is the future of cybersecurity? If you, had to point out one thing that you would advise people to, definitely keep an eye on this thing because, it's going to continue to be hot in the future, what would that thing be?
One thing that I really want to get more into is Bluetooth. I feel like there's a lot of potential when it comes to Bluetooth, but there's just not a lot of people working on it right now. So I think if you can get a hand on Bluetooth and a way to secure that, since it's just so vulnerable right now, I think that would be a great foot in to the future.
Well, my last question is, do you have a favorite like hacker movie
Um,
or like cyber related movie? Like, it doesn't necessarily have to be specifically about cyber, but do you have something that you think, represents the cyber life?
so I like I like the first season of is it Mr. Robot? I like the first season of him. It got a little weird after the first season, but that was good. Not necessarily cyber related, but I like Silicon Valley. I don't know if anybody's ever seen that on HBO. That's my show. I'm probably gonna rewatch it again soon. But yeah, I like those two shows.
Okay, that's dope. I've seen Mr. Robot, and I think I started watching Silicon Valley, but that was definitely dope. All right, so that is all I have. Squad, do you have any questions for Claire? All right, I do not see anyone typing. So, but I just want to thank you for coming out. And so do you want to talk about your book that's coming out, or do you want to talk about how people can follow you, to see what you've got going on and, just come out and support you on your social media?
Yeah, definitely. So I am Clara B Hacks, ClaraBeehax on all platforms. And I am coming out with a book. I'm calling it The Broke Self-Taught Learner's Guide to Cybersecurity, where I'll be sharing how I got into the field and some of the resources that I use currently in the field, and then once I got in. Um, and I just want to pay it forward. I had a lot of help getting where I am, and I just want to pay it forward to other people. So that book should be coming out in the summertime. Um, and you can follow me on Instagram and Twitter to keep up with me.
All right, cool. That is dope. We will be on the lookout. Please let us know so that we can broadcast on all of our socials when you get that out. I'm excited to look at that and check it out. So, and thank you for speaking with us. We appreciate you. And have a good day. Enjoy the rest of your evening.
Thank you so much. I appreciate everybody.
All right, Claire B. Hacks, and this is the Bring a Hacker to Work Days, sponsored by Black Girls Hack. So thank you all for coming out, and I will catch you all in the Slack. Have a good day.